Hey bro, let's get a glimpse at how kings think. Kings understand the destructive power of lying.
Tell you what, if you lying with her, don't lie to her.
But I don't. Everyone sees right through you.
Okay. This boy definitely lying.
And not just the destruction of big lies, but also the traps of smaller, seemingly harmless lies. They know that cultivating a habit of honesty is the only way to reach their true potential. So they are honest first with God and then themselves. And from that posturing, they are able to be honest in all of their other relationships as well. And thus they live free from the chains that come with dishonesty, free from the depression, free from the broken relationships, and free from waking up wondering about what could have been. So now that you've seen a glimpse of a king, ask yourself, are you among them? My name is Logan, and on this channel I hope you realize that you are in fact a king. And as such, it's time to think like a king, and in so doing, you will live like a king. Now, there is an epidemic amongst our men today. So much lying going on everywhere, and we must put a stop to this. See, the honest life is the best life, for the truth shall set you free. So let's break down why you're lying and how it is swiftly destroying you so you can make the choice for honesty. First and foremost, you must understand that the person that you are hurting the most when you lie is yourself. Yes, you will hurt your relationships with others as well, and we will touch on that today. But we must first understand what this is doing to ourselves. See, one of the main reasons that you're probably lying is for validation. See, there's a small, fleeting dopamine hit we get when someone else thinks that we did something amazing. And see, for 1 second, you actually feel like you're living the life that you dream about. And that feeling can be addictive, so you chase it. The lies become continuously more frequent and more elaborate. And why is this destructive? Well, first of all, it stifles your ability to grow. Because when you tell these lies for validation, you start creating this sort of fake world to live in. You adopt this surface level belief that you actually are that person, this character that you created in an alternate reality. And this is really dangerous, because even though you convince yourself that you already are that person that has obtained the goals you're lying about, you're not actually living like the person who has achieved those goals. And thus you put the cart before the horse. You feel like you've already done the work when in reality you haven't even begun. Now don't get me wrong here. It is important to visualize yourself living as the person who has already achieved these goals, but not when it's only founded on lies. Absolutely visualize this, but let your evidence be the work that you're putting in today. You might not have the output yet, but the input is there. But if you're only lying to yourself and you're convincing yourself that you're already living there, then you'll never put the steps in place to actually get there. Now, the second reason that these types of lies destroy you is because you know in the back of your mind that you're not actually like that. I mean, of course you know that. And this burns you alive. It starts eating away at your soul. No matter what you believe about Christ, our morality is objective. So when we're going against that, we're going to feel spiritually dead. And then comes the depression. And then what starts to happen is the only time you're happy is when you're living in a moment when you're telling lies. So then of course, you find yourself in those moments more and more often. And you can see the brutal pattern forming here. These things will feed into each other. The lying makes you depressed, but then the only relief from that depression is lying more. How destructive is that? So you should be starting to see here that it's going to be very difficult to make real progress when lying all the time. See, you must live in reality in order to progress in reality. So the question is, how do we ensure we're doing that? Living in reality. Well, you need to audit yourself constantly. Audit your mind, your heart, your tangible work. Ask yourself, what is the true reality that I'm creating? And in employing these audits, you must be brutally honest with yourself, which is the hardest part. But this is where all growth begins. It begins with being extremely honest with you and begging the question, what am I actually doing right now? I say I want to live this life. Are my actions supporting that notion? And so when you're performing these audits, you can ask yourself this question. Do I have a plan to achieve my goals? And if the answer is no, then perfect. Start right there. Create a plan for yourself, something you can stick to. Yes, you want and need lofty goals, but when you're first starting out, it's perfectly okay and encouraged to begin small. But if the answer is yes, I already have a plan to achieve my goals, then the next question becomes, is it working? Am I actually moving closer to my dream reality? And if the answer to that question is no, then the next question obviously is, well, why not? And this is where, if you have built a habit of lying about who you are, you will do everything to preserve that lie. And even when you actually know that it's a lie, it's too painful at this point. But I promise, facing who you really are is not nearly as painful as waking up 10, 20, 30 years down the road and realizing that you've barely moved. So just forget about the past 5 years, man. Could you have been further than you are right now? Maybe, but who cares? The time to start is right now. So when you're asking yourself this question, be honest. Okay, so I have a plan, but it's not working. Why is that the case? Is it me? Am I not actually committed in running the plan to the best of my ability? And your honesty will be extremely important in this answer. Because if it's not you and your plan really isn't working, that's a big problem. But you can only know that a plan isn't working if you've worked the plan. So if you are honest in this audit and you realize you haven't really given the plan your best effort, then start there. And many of you won't actually realize that you've been a culprit of lying to yourself until you start performing these audits. But then it starts to become clear that you've been complaining about not making progress, but you haven't actually given it your best effort. But look, bro, this is actually an amazing spot to be in because you realize this about yourself and now you can do something about it. And what you need to do is become a truth teller. Now, briefly, I want to touch on the fact that you're also seriously damaging your relationships if you're lying. Now, let me start by letting you in on a secret. We're actually very good at picking up on subtleties and clues that tell us when someone is lying. So don't think that you're getting away with it, even if the people that you're lying to don't say anything, because they still know. And even if they didn't, would it be worth the consequences of when they do find out? Because then things will be much worse and they'll feel like they cannot trust you. And trust is the absolute foundation of any strong relationship. So you gotta stop the lies, bro. Even if they're small, they'll eat into that trust and damage all of your relationships. Now, if you're in this spot right now, and you're realizing that you might be telling more lies than you would like to admit, be encouraged, because there is an answer to this. Truth will set you free. And you can get on the path to being a truth teller right now. Start with you. Begin cultivating honesty within yourself by asking questions throughout the day. And you can start small. Say, what did I do in the last hour to move me closer to my goals? Then don't let yourself off the hook. Take 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes to really answer the question. And if you can, answer the question out loud, and then you can hear yourself. And when you're intentional about this in this specific way, you'll see how difficult it is to lie. Then you'll hear what it sounds like when you're speaking the truth, and you'll start to develop the ability to speak honestly. You will be becoming an honest person. Then from here, branch out and start working on honesty in your relationships. And the way you do that is by thinking before you speak. So if your boy asks you a question, take a second to think about the answer. Answer the question first honestly in your mind, and then give them the answer. If you're telling someone a story about something that happened, and you know that you would generally lie in this story and kind of embellish things, then continue to question yourself throughout the story in your own mind. Is that actually how it happened? Is that actually how it went down? So see, now you're doing this in the same way that you've been being honest with yourself. You're asking yourself these same types of questions that you're used to answering now. So you've already been building that muscle by practicing with yourself, and now you can flex it in these conversations. And this is how you practice being honest in your relationships. And the more you do this, the more you become somebody who is honest with himself and become somebody who is honest in his relationships. And the more you will break free from the chains of lying. You will feel this weight lifted from your shoulders as your spirit is revived. And you will be able to press full steam ahead to actually attaining the life that you used to lie about. So look, King, don't fall into the trap of lying. It will destroy you, no matter how small it may seem in the moment. So ask yourself right now, do I lie? Do I lie to myself? Do I lie to others? And you'll know the answer to that. Answer it out loud. And if you have any form of yes, then it's time to do something about it. Now, bro, if you got anything from the video, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you in the family. But now it's time for me to serve as your reminder. Always put the work in, and from there, leave it in the hands of the one true King. Stay kingly.